work on the weekends is not a sin. And I feel like that needs to be said more. You catch up a lot when you schedule work Saturday and Sunday, Saturday or Sunday. It's up to you. But don't run away from working on the weekend, closing your laptop on a Friday, opening it only on a Monday and thinking that, you're going to make money outside of your 9 to 5. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Modern Day Trader channel. I'm Sam, with me is Marcy, and this is officially our first Sunday weekly meeting, Sunday weekly breakdown. Look, we're still playing around with the name. We'll get it right. But this is, I think, the meat of our content. This is why we're here. We hope you guys have enjoyed the introductory series that we've posted over this week. If you haven't checked those videos out, the link to them is below in the description. I think it will give you a bit of context just coming into this meeting where it's going to be quite technical and we're just getting into it now. So yeah, hope you enjoy this. My G, we're here. It was a tough week, I think, for both of us. But I think there's been a lot more prep, I think, than we both thought, like just setting up these meetings and like editing and like trying to edit yourself. And obviously we've done tried to do all our own, production, post-production, all of that. And we aren't, content creators. Like I think Marcy's had more exposure than myself in the past, just creating content, but it's just a lot of work. And it's been very time consuming, but very fulfilling in my perspective. But yeah, just with that, how was your week, bro? Just in the market, at work, in general, how's the week for you?
I think in general, bro, it was pretty decent. It was a good week. It's just very tiring, to be honest with you, bro. Like, hey, Sam, like this week was so tiring in the sense that like you go to work, you wake up early to do the work, and then go to work, do your work, take your trades, whatever you need to trade, if there is a trading day, which I'll get into in a bit. And then you have to get home, either make a video or edit a video. And guys, I'm not going to lie, I underestimated the whole YouTube experience. As obviously, as Sam mentioned, we're not really content creators, but we're here and we want to share this whole experience with you. And we obviously wanted to create a bit of an aesthetic with the first couple of videos being the introduction. And that was a bit of a challenge for us, but we made it through. We're here now. And that was quite tiring in that sense, just because you're spending way more time editing than you thought you would. But when you're getting into the week, I think gym was pretty good. My diet was pretty good for the most part. It was pretty good. However, it was my birthday yesterday, so yeah, I did chill a bit. And yeah, like, you know what I mean? So the boy's finally 27, and I think it's a huge milestone. We close to 30, then we are 20 now, but okay. Like, it is what it is. I think it was good. We celebrated with the boys. Really, really good in that sense. But anyway, getting into trading this week, I think I would like to recap the month firstly. January was a very consolidatory month. Firstly, it was a month that introduced us into 2024. And I thought coming out of 2023 that we're going to have a really good month of Jan. And initially, I would have had a really good month if I did not trade last week. But there is no not trading. It's just about collecting sample sizes for the future. If you enter into markets that you're unknown to, then what I would suggest is trading in those markets and seeing what your strategy can do in that time. And if it performs, you can trade in those markets. If it doesn't, then what you can do is, from the data that you get, just ignore those markets. And so that was the lesson for me coming out of last week. Let me jump into sharing my screen. And this is my journal that I have for the month of January. And as you can see, I've taken 18 trades thus far on my account, and it's slightly below 50% win rate. And this is largely due to last week. And last week was so much losses. However, this week, coming into this week, if I just was to filter out this week's dates, what you'll be able to see is I've taken 3 trades and I've made 4 off. And so just jumping into those trades, I think trade number 1, this was on the 29th of January. We had a clean downtrend, in my opinion. We broke out of the range that was, the price action was ranging all of last week, which was the end of January, the week before this, the 2nd of Feb, which was Friday. It was ranging all of last week. We finally got a breakout. And once we got that breakout, what you could then see is that we had these, I was plain and simply looking for these continuations once we had the breakout. And Monday, simple, we had forward correlation across all the pairs, simple breakout, taking the short 1-to-1 for 15 pips. And it's simple, easy, clean. Jumping into my second trade that I've taken. And as I mentioned, we broke out of the range, continuations. For the most part, I'm looking for these continuations. Now, this was on the 1st of Feb. So we had the day being bearish and we had the 4H closing bearish. So at this point, all I'm doing is I'm looking for continuations for the moving bearish. And I'm looking for the next 4H to continue moving bearish. And so simply, I saw the breakout on the 15-minute. We had a break close below it in the market. I entered below these, as you can see, I entered below these 1-minute breaks of structures, and the continuation, you can see it quite clean. And then yesterday, stepping into the market, now I have one trading setup that I can want to do just because it performs better than all my other trading setups. And this is simply when you have the daily and the 4H agreeing, and then you also have 4H correlation across multiple currencies. And what you can see is we had the daily and the 4H bullish, and we also had the 4H correlation. On this 15-minute, you can quite clearly see that we had the break above these areas here. So that's my 15-minute breakout confirmation. And now all I'm doing is I'm looking for that 1-minute structure confirmation and evidence that price action is going to continue. And so I'm looking at structure on the 1-minute, and what I see is these breaks to the downside. So that's the highs behind these lower lows, and we broke structure in and around these areas. I'm going to pull back, maybe new higher high, new high, and at this point, this is what you can see as 15 wick. So when we get into the nitty gritty on the 1-minute, what you can clearly see is that price action broke above. I had my buy stops at 850. Price action broke above, clear and clean stop loss placement below previous lower highs. And I'm just anticipating that now, because we volume time, this was around 9:15. So this is pre-London in South Africa, 9:15. So this is an hour before London open, 45 minutes before London open. And all I'm anticipating is that with this pre-London volume, we have the breakouts. They're just going to be continuations. And as you guys can see, clean structures to the upside. We just continued on the 1-minute, forming higher highs, higher lows. And that was it. So now what you can see is if I jump into for the week, we had a really clean push to the upside. And so now let me just share with you guys what my trading portal looks like on Skilled Funded Trader. So you guys may not know, at this point, I'm doing 2 challenges together. And there's been times where I could take trades on the 5K challenge and not on the 10K challenge. And that's why you'll see that there's a big difference in the return, or in where the equity is right now and where the current balance on the account is right now. So what you can see here on the screen right now is the 5%, and the 5% count really reflects what my actual journal looks like. So if I also take these away, and you'll be able to see that this is my journal, and this is all the trades that I've taken thus far. This 5K account represents more likely than not what it actually is. It's down by a bit due to commissions. However, it is what it is. Jumping into the 10K account, what you guys can see is that we're down by 2%. This is due to technical difficulties. I think it's going to take a bit too long to explain these technical difficulties that occurred, but just for you guys to get a quick context to it, it's simply what had happened was the fact that I was on 55 and I was playing on MP5 on the laptop, and then the long log sizes occurred. Luckily, I was able to save it before anything had happened, and yeah, that's been my week without my account. And I think for the most part, what what you can see is that channel is quite break even, and I'm looking forward to fit because I'm looking forward to the fact that we can catch these movements to the upside and we can catch clean movements on TJ, hopefully clean trends. And once the clean trend comes into play, then I'd be able to make more money and average out to roughly 4, 5, 10 to month. So yeah, guys, let me give it over to Sam, and Sam will jump in his week. So Sam, how was your week? So Sam, how was your week?
But sounds like you had a good week. I know this week you almost broke out of, I mean, that losing streak that you mentioned, and it's like you said, it's like those are things you can't really avoid. It's just part of the process. But I know throughout that streak, one thing you always said was you're still following the plan. Like the numbers will play out. Like there wasn't any need to like change what you're doing, or like there wasn't panic. So now shout out to you, bro. Shout out to you. I know you break even now on the account, which is a good place to be at. Personally this week, obviously, besides from just the busyness of setting this up, had some big deadlines at work on site. So I was worried going into the week that I wouldn't have a lot of time, or wouldn't have a lot of focus rather, to be on the charts, because it was just a very demanding week work-wise, and I was on site majority of the week, and even majority of the day, because I normally don't spend the whole day there. Some days I do, but this was like every single day, just either on the road the whole day or on site. And so I did worry that it would affect focus and the energy that I brought to the charts. But this was a pretty good week, I think. Still executed well on the opportunities that did present themselves. So for me personally, it was 3 trades taken this week. That was GJ long, Euro USD short, and USD ZAR short. So just quick recap, the GJ long, price had been ranging quite a bit, and hadn't really broken out of that consolidation, but structure was still holding on the 4-hour. And so early in the week, I think this was Monday afternoon, price came back into that 4-hour POI. I got my entry confirmation, which is this run of liquidity, high momentum break of structure, and then we had a nice corrective correction into my entry zone, which was just a 50% retracement, or the 50% point rather, of this run of liquidity. Triggered in, got to 1% break even, and then price came and stopped me out. I think after that 4-hour structure did shift to the downside in any case. So just glad with this position that I was able to get to break even, protect capital, and I guess move on. And then the next day, so I actually took quite a few trades this week, because 3 is on the high end. But this was Euro USD short. This was a 1% loss, 1R loss, I guess, when you were looking at the positions tab. But my current risk is 0.25%, quarter of a percent. So for here, it was a 2-hour POI. Again, same entry criteria. Price came into the POI, ran the liquidity, broke to the downside, and this, just one of those that stopped me out. It met the plan, but when I was reviewing this, I think it was a bit of a premature trade, just looking back on it in hindsight. In terms of following the plan, I was trading in alignment with the high time frame, so not really one of those that I can say I wouldn't take again, because it is in the plan. But going forward, obviously, once we get to the end of the 20 sample. Yeah, I'll look at tweaking some trades where I am noticing there are certain positions I'm taking that are premature, where the price isn't quite ready to trade out of that zone, and there are certain indicators that I'm starting to pick up on that are showing me that. But until we've built enough data to say that this is a recurring pattern, it's really an assumption to that point. So I will continue to take these types of trades at least. But this was as per the plan, just didn't play out. And that was a 1% loss, 0.25% loss based on my account. And then this was the USD ZAR trade that I took a Wednesday evening. And this was a very clean trade. Same, I think high time frame wise, this was out of a 4-hour POI, which is my main sort of high time frame POI. So high probability trade. If I know, what do people call them? What are those things called? Your key setups, or what's the name? I've heard it so much on your Words of Wisdom podcast, where it's like you always have a setup that's like your primary setup or something like that, or go-to setup. Taking entries out of that 4-hour POI is definitely for me one of my high probability setups, or what I classify as a high probability setup. In line with your high time frame, mitigated POI, very clean entry schematic, and even on the execution of the trade, minimal drawdown, 1% break even, and then TP, which was in terms of hypothetically, if it was 1%, it was a 2.67 return. But given that it was 0.25%, it was technically a 0.67 return. So that's ended the week in positive. 1.67 R translates with the risk that I was taking into a 0.42% profit. Good win break even ratio. And then I think just zooming out into the week, if I remove this filter, the month, 6 trades in total for me in Jan. 50% win break even ratio and up 2.51%. In terms of that 1:1. End of January on positive. The equity curve, was slightly sideways, but I think it's looking like a good J curve. Broke that structure, retest, and rebound. So I think getting into a good flow with the market. I think that's a good start for Jan. Jan typically for me hasn't been a profitable month. I think December and Jan. I think just falling into that stereotype of those aren't good months to trade. Don't trade, stay away from the markets in that time. I'd rather prove, to myself that that's valid or not. And this page actually was under maintenance. I think I told you, bro, just before that. I won't be able to share my account metrics, but I was just reloading now in the background, and this has come up. So this is my FTMO challenge. As you guys can see, 10K challenge. Started it on the 10th of November. So look, by the end of this coming week, it'll be about 3 months now. Don't really look at the consistency score. I don't think that's an important metric to look at. I focus more on my actual win break even ratio from that separate journal that I was just showing you guys. And then just looking at my daily summaries, you can see these are these 3 trades that I was just telling you about. So first trade, that break even. I like to set my break even pretty deep just to cover those frictional costs. So it will always be a small profit. And then obviously the 0.25% loss, as well as the 0.67 win. And maybe just a quick one to explain my risk management. So for me, obviously, I'm on the prop firm challenge, and typically my risk is 1%. But while doing the challenge, trying to go the distance, I'll start on 0.5% risk. Once I get 2% into profit, then I can go to a full 1% risk per trade. If I drop below 2% in terms of drawdown on the starting balance, then I lower my risk to 0.25%. I'm currently at 0.25% because my max drawdown, I think starting this year, was negative 2.7%. So yeah, I'm on that 0.25% now. I'll be on that up until I get to break even, where I'll then move it back up to 0.5% and on and on from there. So yeah, basically, as you can see, 10K starting balance, current equity is 9.8K. So comes sitting at a drawdown of about 2%, which I'm still comfortable with, still happy with. I think clawing it back. And, so yeah, that was the week on my end. I think happy with on the trading side in terms of the way I was executing trades in between the busyness of things. I did have a position on yesterday on GJ just before NFP. I think I set it about an hour before NFP, but it didn't trigger me in yet. And 30 minutes before, I have it in my plan that if I'm not in a trade, then if there's a high impact news announcement within 30 minutes, I have to take that off. And I'll be honest, there was a point where I wanted to keep the position on because it was a very clean entry schematic. And I think at the end of it, I was like, I'd be violating my plan, because my plan doesn't say if the setup looks clean, take it anyway. It's, if there's news, you're not in, you can't enter trade 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after. So just stayed disciplined and kind of reluctantly took it off. And that would have helped because I would have taken a 1% loss on that. And I think I would be in a very different frame of mind now. Obviously, no, losers aren't supposed to make you feel any type of way. You're supposed to be neutral, but I think it's more the fact that I violated the plan consciously, because I was like, I know if I leave this on, I'm going against my plan. So this cut for a second. In terms of gym this week, to be honest, I've trained once, and that was this morning. I should have had 3 sessions this week. I did 1 today. I will train once tomorrow, so that's going to be a total of 2 sessions this week. Yeah, crazy week. I think just getting the videos out, that's been very time consuming. But I think going forward, where we'll just be having, the weekly meetings. Yeah, it's going to be a lot more balanced, because I think both need to catch up on a bit of rest. But yeah, that was the week. Good week, I think, overall. You wanna jump on the charts and see what we're looking at for the week?
It sounds like you had a good week, bro. Sounds like you had a good week. Let me jump into the charts. Now we can get started on the analysis. So I think last week was pretty good, as we mentioned, like for both of us. It was a good week. It was busy, but it was a good week. So jumping into the coming week, what do we anticipate? What are we looking at? So with DXY, it's a bit iffy. Now, I am pretty bullish on DXY just because price action has shifted. So if you take a look at what price action has done in this past couple of weeks from the daily perspective and daily time frame, you can see a lower low being behated, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, and a lower low. And consequently, we broke price action and we broke structure. And what you can see that these structures right here has been broken. Bullish at this point. And so not just that, we created these higher highs, pulled back to create a higher low, and now we have a new higher high. So now to me personally, all we need to be doing is anticipating higher highs, higher lows to be created. That's what structure says, and that will structure how I learn structure. And so the only reason why I place this in around these areas is I do understand that there is a high the price action might get a bounce from these areas. And you just need to understand that when these bounces occur, what you can then do is take these on low time frames, take the trades back up to those structures, or potentially to create a higher high on the lower time frame structures. So with that in mind, let's jump into the 4H time frame. Now, the 4H time frame is quite clean in the sense that we went into a range, as I mentioned, for majority of the week, last week, and majority of this past week, but we had these clean moves to the downside and these clean moves to the upside. What you can then see is that with NFP on Friday, we had the clean break of structure. And so, as I mentioned, the reason why I placed this daily time frame or this daily high value area line here is because what I can do is I can potentially anticipate that when price action gets into these areas right here, you can potentially see these pullbacks into a point of interest where you can then start to anticipate the continuations into the higher time frame structure and the higher time frame trend. And so what I'm going to be doing is, I'm not saying this has to happen. What I'm saying is that there is a high chance of it happening, because at the end of the day, we don't know where a higher low is going to be created. It could be created there. It could be created there. We don't really know. All we can do is watch the lower time frames to see where the shift of structure happen and where it occurs, to then start anticipating essentially that price action is going to continue bullish. But for now, what I'm doing is I can see that we clearly had the breaks above these areas here. This is a clear point of interest. Both to me is my last high and low in this uptrend. And this is where if price action broke, I'm starting to change my mind and starting to shift bearish. But for now, we're bullish on DXY. Now you got to bear in mind that there is news Monday, and then there is news sometime later on in the week that is going to probably move DXY and the dollar quite a bit. But we don't necessarily trade the dollar. We just use it in our analysis of Euro USD. So jumping into Euro USD, what you can see is that price actually directly correlates to what DXY is doing. We're clearly making lower lows, lower highs, the same way DXY is making higher highs, higher lows. And so just going into the daily time here, what we can see is these higher highs, higher lows on a daily time. And this is where I am kind of in conflict. I have a conflict of interest in the sense that the daily on EU is pretty bullish, and we're making these clear higher highs, higher lows. We're in a point of interest where we could potentially bounce off from. However, from a structural perspective for the intraday time frames, what you can see is the price action is making these lower lows, lower highs. And all I can do is anticipate that we're going to continue making lower lows, lower highs until we actually shift structure. So if something like this happens, what I can then do is I can start anticipating that we're going to get the continuation to test these equal lows that are created. And that's all that I'm looking for from an EU perspective. And the reason why I can anticipate downside is because if I correlate this with DXY that is bullish, I have more confidence in the fact that price action potentially push to the downside. And so yes, we're in this daily point of interest, and there could be chances of it potentially like pushing to the upside. But if I weigh the scale that we are bullish or are we bearish based on which time frame, I'd say I'm more bearish on EU just based on the correlation that I have with DXY. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for sells on EU. So I'm bullish on DXY. I'm bearish on EU. So I'm potentially looking for sells out of these points of interest here where we do eventually get into it. Let's jump into my pair, which is GJ. From a daily perspective, what you can see is price action had come into this high value area that we created in November. So on the 24th of November last year, we created this area, and you can clearly see that we pushed off from this area for quite some time. And when we came back into this area, we went into this range, and this was the range that was giving me hands. I was just losing like mad, but we went into the range, and now what you can see is that price action clearly pushed out of the range, and we're retesting this. And when you jump onto the 4H time frame, what you can see now is that you have price action pushing into the daily high time frame, high value area, And you can clearly see the breaks of structure right here. Broke structure, pull back to create this lower high, and now we're forming these new lower lows. And back into the point of interest. And so now from here, I think for early on in the week, we can anticipate that GJ is definitely going to be pushing. I can't say definitively that it's going to be pushing bearish, but there's a high chance that even based on these last 8 hours of information that we have, where price action closed, the price action could potentially do something somewhat like this and retest these equal lows. And that's what I'm anticipating for the most part. However, what would completely just take this setup out is a break above the Indies right here. That is the last node structure on the 4H, a retest, and then a continuation with a break above the new high. If we get that, then I would have to shift my view. But for now, I'm bearish on GJ. I'm looking for sells on GJ. Early on in the week, Monday, Tuesday, I'm just looking for sells on.
Agreed.
Coming to USD ZOL, I think it's a one. It's a really, really interesting one. In that, if you look at it from a higher time perspective, we're ranging. And this is a clear range. A lot of people would say step away from the market and don't trade this market. However, I think if you're jumping down time frames and you are intraday or a session-based trader, there's chances on this pair that you can catch. And I think you saw it last week. You saw the trade that Sam took last week was really clean. And when you come down into time frames, what you can see is clear structure being created. We had the initial break of structure in and around these 18.87 levels, and we formed these lows, and then we had a pullback, formed new lows, and you can clearly see we have these breaks of structure to the downside. Now, what I did want to note is that when we created this low here, we pushed back down into these areas, and we had a failure to make a new low. So essentially, what you have now is some type of double bottom or just a failure to make a new lower low. And then we had the big push to the upside with NFP. And to me, you can see that I used the magnet tool just to place the price action or the price on these closes. And what you can clearly see is that we had a clean break and close above structure. So right now we have the break of structure that turned the 4H bullish. And so I'm more bullish than I am bearish right now from a 4H perspective. And what I've been looking for is pullbacks into these areas, but I wouldn't necessarily take it off from this area. What I'd wait for is a break above these areas first. So even if we get a higher low in and around these areas, once we get a new high, I'll start to anticipate entries from the next pullback. And the reason for that is I just need a bit more. I need a bit more confirmation. Yes, we have the initial structure. And if you characterize that as something, I feel like you can characterize that as a change of character of some sort. We're going from being bearish to now being bullish, but we're not fully bullish in the sense that we haven't formed a higher high. We formed a high, but not a higher high. So once we form a higher high, we then have more confidence in anticipating that now we can continue making higher lows, higher highs, higher lows on these pairs. And also you got to bear in mind that from a high time frame perspective, we are consolidating. So yeah, we are ranging. So jumping into US 30, this is pretty simple for me. I'm looking for buys. This is a pair that you don't have to explain too much. You look at it, you can see the trend is up. You can see we're bullish. I think a 3-year-old or 5-year-old could say, this thing's going up. If you asked him which way should I trade, just based on like the way in which the chart's going, if they all know this thing's going up, bro, going to the moon. So all you can really anticipate is price action to have the action into point. Jump in the lower time frame and identify shift or structure. I don't really take this pair too much. I don't watch this pair too much, but I know Sam has it on his watch list. And what I do is I'd wait for price action to potentially push into the point of interest, as I mentioned, and have these little structures just because I think this will take multiple 4H candles, and each 4H candle has 16, 15 of the candles. And so you'd have multiple structures, multiple pullbacks pulling back on the 15-minute in this counter trend on the 15-minute. And once we shift back bullish again out of the point of interest, then what we could then potentially see is continuations, pullbacks, and entering on those pullbacks to push price action to the upside. That's all I'll be looking for. So just to wrap it up, I'm bullish on wine, bearish on EU, bearish on 3J, bullish on those these days, bullish on. And those are my analysis, Sam. I don't know. How's the analysis looking on your end, right?
Oh, it's very clean, bro. Very clean. I think we're aligned on quite a few of the pairs. I'm seeing very similar structures playing out. I think it obviously comes down to how we execute on the low time frames, where the trades we take starts to differ. But I think if we're more often than not seeing the same thing, then happy. But just starting with dot index on my end, something I was just taking note of as I was doing my forecasting session this week was that we had a monthly close that was this week. So I don't really look at the monthly time frames, but when we do have a monthly close, it's just good practice just to look at how it closes, because obviously we do this top-down analysis and each time frame impacts, what the time frame below that may potentially do. So just looking at the monthly on dollar index, we had a full retrace of previous candlestick, which for me, based on what's going on the lower time frames, is a very good indicator of continued momentum to the upside. We are kind of in this range bound sort of area on dollar index, but we've been at the low of this range for quite some time, and I'm just seeing price slowly push towards the top of this range. That may not all happen in this week. I'm saying go buy now or sell euro, but it just to give you an idea of what may happen over the course of this month. Following monthly candlestick may be, a doji, may be corrective, but I think that's just a good indicator that price is still respecting that low point and could potentially be pushing higher over the course of this month. And just looking at daily time frame, we're bullish. For me, I think we're in this impulsive phase of dollar, where the dollar's pushing higher, and we've slowly gravitated to this high value area, where I'm seeing either potential push through or a bit more corrective price action before we either push through or reject downwards. But until obviously we do shift structure on those low time frames, and the price is bullish. You've been coming down to the 4 hour. We've had messy price action, I think, on dollar for the past couple of weeks, and finally, I think because of NFP, we're able to break. It wasn't a very clean break, but we broke above that range high. Formed this new structure. I think my structure is very similar to yours, if I'm not mistaken. But again, I think now that we have all momentum shown that it's to the upside, I'm expecting a continuation of that. Bearing in mind that we are obviously still very close to this point here, but it just gives a good idea. If we do come down into this point, that I'm looking for that continuation to the upside. And that, I think, just informs a bias on the other pairs. US30, which is the index pair, generally negatively correlated to dollar. A strong dollar isn't good for equities, and vice versa. And inversely correlated with Euro USD, obviously, because Euro USD is a cross dollar pair. So dollar strength will weaken that again, and vice versa. Just starting off with US30, like Marcy said, this pair is just clearly in a bullish trend. Noticing though from the monthly close that over the past 3 months, I think obviously this was the first real momentum that came in. And after that, we have had bullish months, but you can see the momentum slowly waning. I think each candlestick a bit clearer on the weekly as it starts to slow down, but we did have a lot of momentum this past week. I think that's largely due to NFP, because the pair it wasn't doing much for the week. well, pushing higher consistently, but not enough retracements to find an entry. So yeah, I think structures fully bullish to the upside. I've got the same 4 hour structures yourself, Marcy. I think it's clear. And for me, I think there's 2 entry points. I like that we've got clear 4 hour POI, that points of interest. And then as well, coming down to the 1 hour, got a clear 1 hour point of interest POI. And then very small, but then we've got this point where price overlaps. And usually when it's a bit bigger, that for me is a really key area where price generally gravitates towards, where my higher time frame 4 hour POI overlaps my lower time frame entry POI. That's a high probability trade for me, and an area where I normally get entry. But look, I'll still be looking for this out of this 1 hour POI. But again, going back to what I was saying in the review, because there is this larger 4 hour POI here, this entry may be premature up here. And that's something I'm monitoring, but I will still take the trade going forward if we do get that correction into the zone. So yeah, what I'll be looking for is correction into the area, like you're seeing in my review, around this liquidity here, high momentum break structure, and then setting my limit order to the upside. So yeah, bullish on US 30. I think there's opportunity here. There was a lot of momentum on Friday. So we'll a continuation of that momentum in the week because, some pairs broke structure, some pairs almost confirmed structure, or we'll see a very rapid, I think, filling of imbalances that were created here, or we continue. But I think, very clean structure on US 30. Coming to GBP JPY, that is pound yen. Again, monthly, quite bullish. I thought we'd start to see the beginning of a deeper correction this month, given just bullish momentum this pair's had for a while. Until structure starts to do so, we can't try project anything happening. We just follow the structure at this point. Weekly quite corrected to the upside. Daily, we've had price trading around, like Marcy had indicated as well, around this high band area that I had up here. Struggled there for a bit. We're still holding structure on the low time frame. Now we can see we kind of start pushing away from that. What I haven't taken notes of, though, is this candlestick here, which is either telling me that this is just a much deeper pullback and we may continue to the upside, or we're just coming up to test these highs, tap into this liquidity pool above here, because this is probably a point where there was a lot of retail selling, and then the real move comes in. So I'm just a bit wary of not being firm on the buy set, and price is bearish, we're heading lower, just given how this daily candlestick is formed. But like Martin said, and like structure is on the 4 hour, we are still bullish, and I trade very much in alignment with the structure. We did break this point in the week, I think early in the week, and that was, I think, the first real move out of this corrective sort of phase here. Broke there, retested, and continued to the downside. And I think the fact that this held NFP and we didn't break higher, is telling me that this is a fairly strong level that price is respecting. And so I think primarily be looking for a push off here to continue to the downside. But that is the current structure at the moment. Obviously, keeping in mind that, I could take note of that 1 day candlestick. At the end of the day, we did still push off from a very strong daily high value area. and the 4-hour structure is very clearly holding at the moment. So if I drop down to my lower time frames, I'll then need that confirmation from my friends. And you can see, obviously, it's broken here, it's breaking in and out. But just a rule that I kind of hold in the way I trade is if price hasn't broken on the time frame that the POI was formed, then the POI is still valid. So for me, only if price closes above you on the 4-hour will I then look for to shift the structure and shift the bias and all of that. But at the moment, this is still holding. It's almost looking like it's correcting higher to, eventually just tumble to the downside, which we may see. I think it remains to be seen. But at the moment, no entry for me here. I'll just be waiting for my lower time frames to play out and give me confirmation that we are coming lower and respecting that 4-hour POI. But at the moment, as bearish on the JPY. Coming to Euro USD, let me start off on the high time frames. Okay. Euro USD, again, monthly bearish. Just confirms that inverse correlation with dollar index and what we were seeing, there. Coming down into the weekly, something I just kind of want to highlight on dollar index, but it will literally be the inverse. If you guys go back and check out that dollar index chart, or if you are, on the charts live and marking this up, then even better. The way I kind of look at structures is, I think price action is fractal. So the same structure that I'll plot that you've seen me plotting on the 4-hour, I'll look for on the weekly. I may not plot it on the weekly because I'm not trying to clutter the charts, but the same principles apply, whether it's your weekly, 4-hour, 1 hour, 5 minutes, it's all the same. Obviously you just need to take a slightly different approach in terms of, how you enter, or the time frame rather that you enter on, based on what structure you plotting or what time frame you're plotting the structure on. But when I am looking at the weekly, this candlestick here will create my weekly POI, and we see price trading into that and starting now to push off. But we did have run of liquidity here, prices approaching this break structure point. So there's a big potential, I think, just looking at what the monthly is doing, for price to break beyond this point, very much in alignment with dollar index. So similarly, price very close to this high value area down here. Until obviously we break that point, we don't know. I just see price gravitating towards this area, and it will then make up its mind for trading high. Obviously, will be informed by both lower time frame structures and how those are shifting, as well as what we're seeing on the high time frames in terms of maybe resistance to this area. But at the moment, I think price clearly trading to the downside, starting to shift more into corrective phase. I think as it comes down, look, still you can see, if you look from the left to your right, price is trading down. You can see it clearly. But for me, when I get to 4-hour, it's, to be honest, I can't plot structure yet. I think I did in the week, but we've just had a bit too much range bound movement. A bit too much range bound movement on this pair. And while my high time frame bias is bearish, I'm looking for a bit more development on Euro USD before I look for any sort of high time frame structure. Because technically, at this point, if I just show you how structure developed, this was our particular high point, and then this is obviously the equal low, and then at this point we broke that structure. So coming down here now, that shifts to, oh no, sorry, that was our breaking structure point. This was our equal low, sorry. Break structure bottom. So this is what I had on for most of the week. Because yeah, price broke pretty early Monday afternoon. And then once we did, obviously, this is POI, mitigated, had not up even. I think it was a very shallow mitigation, but we came down, touched those equal lows, didn't really close below because I need that close below to confirm the breaking structure. And then, reverse back to the upside. Now touched it again, come back, and now we've closed below, but haven't really started, pulling back to confirm that this is the low, or maybe we are going to start pulling back from here. I guess if we do, then naturally shift it to there. But I'm just looking for a bit more development here, to be honest. The price is becoming very directive, and we obviously had a lot of momentum on Friday. But until I kind of just get confirmation from the structure that we got confirmed for our structure to the downside or to the upside, I won't really look for any positions here. Potentially some on the low time frame if we do start to form structures like this, like direct run it, liquidity breaks to the upside, and then maybe continue up, then potentially counter trend trades out of certain areas. But yeah, to be honest, dollar index, I find when I'm having to explain too much what's going on, then the trade probably isn't there if it's not like staring me in the face. So probably going to stay away from this a bit earlier in the week. But I'm really looking for sales on this, making a price trading or just because of generally the directions in now and high time frame. USD's law, like Marcy said, not a very clean pair to read at times. For me personally, the reason why I do have this pair on is because we are trying to incorporate more of a fundamental approach into our trading strategy. And being from South Africa, we understand the South African economy perhaps a lot better than other economies. So it feels like a good starting point for us. Technically, again, high time frames not the greatest. It's range bound, but the lower you get in your time frames, it does start to respect structure and form a lot cleaner structures. The lower you do get. So this for me personally, looking at how structures develop at this daily high value area, price came into this area, rejected once, ran that liquidity, and then had the proper breaking structure. Those over the course of last week. So I see us playing in between these two ranges here as I've marked up, and price obviously coming from the one end, see it trading down to the lower, to the lower end of that range. Coming to the low time frame, up until this NFP point, it was extremely bullish in my perspective. But this momentum that's coming now has obviously shifted the structure. If I look at the 4 hour, which again I would take from this point here as my protected high, because this didn't really break structure for me, so I couldn't confirm that as a low. This was almost just my swing low point. So we did come up, we broke structure slightly with this close here. Hence, I don't really have anything marked up on the 4 hour because again, I think I just want the chart to find its feet. But similarly to USD similarly to USD, I mean. But coming down into the 2 hour, can definitely see there was, it's actually the 1 hour that I have my structure. you can definitely see there's a shift of structure here, high momentum break. You did run that liquidity. But I think just given what the higher time frame is doing and the way I see the daily developing, like Marcy, I'd want to see another break to the upside just to confirm that, look, maybe the bias within this range, this daily range, has shifted now to the upside, and we're trading back higher to the top of that range. Because then I can, I think, start to entertain setups out of these newly formed POIs to the upside. But until we get that, I'm going to sit on my hands with this pair and not risk any capital yet. Any capital yet. And just again, I think what I'm seeing now actually on the daily is we are at this point here. We predicted from this point, the same long time friend here. And that's just like clear head and shoulders. And so while I can mark this up, guys, like I don't, my entry will never be based off anything outside of like the way I've been explaining, pairs and structures and things. But you pick up so many things like as you're learning how to trade that, it can just give you a different perspective. And that I know right now I'm saying, look, we may be correcting to the upside, deeper corrections, but that's given me a different perspective now that, look, let's see how price reacts to this point first. Price gets here and we start to correct quite a bit and we start rejecting, then okay, that's like another level of another reason where I'm thinking, okay, it was almost like an indication or suspicion at first that we may be shifting from this point. Now price is actually showing that we are, but still I'm guided by the structure that I trade, the way I form my POIs, and maybe I'll just wait for more confirmation because I'm not particularly happy with the way price is developing. And that's where the discretion sort of side of it comes. You can be very mechanical. You can have your plan. You can have your, 3-step or 4-step approach to marking up the charts, but over time you will begin to use a bit more discretion. I think when the charts aren't 100% clear, that's where you kind of need to up the discretion that you are using, especially if it means, sitting on your hands. And I think just recognizing that these aren't my trading conditions. And that's a hard thing to do at first because you always want to be in positions because you kind of, I don't know, I was at a point, I think, mainly in those first 3 years that I explained in the video, where it's like, for me, being in a position means I was going to win. Even though I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I never know it clearly, but there's kind of just like this desire or like this FOMO to like not like just be on the sidelines, but not taking a position is also taking a position if the conditions aren't favorable for, the trade as per your plan or whatever. So I think just noticing on a few pairs that there's too much guesswork or too much like analyzing that I'm beginning to do to get to a bias. And once I feel like I'm doing that, I'd rather just wait for more development. So I think to sum it up, dollar index bullish, US 30 bullish, pound JPY bearish, Euro USD neutral, USD ZAR neutral. Our main focus for me will be on I think pound JPY and US 30 in the earlier part of the week, and I'll probably let Euro USD and USD ZAR just find its feet a bit before wanting to commit any capital there.
So that analysis is quite clean, Sam, quite clean. And I think for the most part, it agrees to what I see. I wanted to ask you, bro, because I know what it is to like trade with a job 9 to 5. But like, how have you been doing it with trading, job, and studying, bro? Like, take away the editing, take away everything. How is the studies add to everything, and like, how is your individuality question, bro?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I actually got the same question in my DMs this week on Instagram. interesting one. I think, and so you were more asking like with site work and like charts, how do you balance it? But the first thing I said was find a strategy that fits into your lifestyle, your work lifestyle. Because if you do have a 9 to 5, you can't be in front of the charts the entire time. So automatically you need to take a long-term approach. You can't be scalping, actively taking positions, actively managing positions. So I think the first thing would be, picking a strategy that works well with your work sort of lifestyle and your work schedule. And then over and above that, once you do have that strategy, become very clear on what you need to do and when you need to do it. So for me, I focus on, for me to become a consistently profitable trader, I have 5 processes. It's forecasting setups daily, journaling each trade taken, performing my advanced self-review on the weekends, section on publishing investment research. That's more on the fundamental side and not something I'm very active on now. And then building the Modern Day Trader channel, because that's contributing a lot to the value and focus and the quality of our work when it comes to trading. So those are kind of the 5 things I focus on. There is back testing and stuff as well, but those are kind of the 5 core sort of processes. And I need to be very clear on when I'm doing each of those things in the week around my day job, which, to be honest, at the moment is more of like a 6 to 6 because I'm on site quite a bit. So I'll have a forecasting session, 8:30 a.m., set an alarm on my phone. I know 30 minutes before, okay, London forecast coming up. I need to get ready for that, start finishing off whatever tasks I'm doing. And it's not going to take me long, even if I'm at work, 15, 20 minutes. And then again, a New York forecasting session at 2:15, 2:30. Again, about 15, 20 minutes. But then also in the evening, what I found really helps is just doing like a 10-minute review of the markets from a high time frame perspective, just to realign with what I've looked at on the weekend and how things are playing out. Because during the day, it's like you just have to be in execution mode. You don't have time to reflect on, what's this going to do? What's that going to do? So that evening session really helps balance me in terms of, okay, am I still trading in alignment with my original analysis? Because I'm calmer now. I'm in a state where I feel like I can sort of reflect on what the market's doing and how it's developing. But those first 2 in the day, those are full execution mode. I'm looking to execute on the plan in the moment. And then obviously schedule the other things around that in the evenings. Work on the weekends is not a sin. And I feel like that needs to be said more. You catch up a lot when you schedule work Saturday or Sunday. It's up to you. But don't run away from working on the weekend, closing your laptop on a Friday, opening it only on a Monday and thinking that, you're going to make money outside of your 9 to 5. So I think just in short, it's picking obviously a strategy that works with your work lifestyle outside of trading. And then 2, becoming clear on what you need to do and when you need to do it. And then obviously just doing the work day in, day out and being consistent in that sense.
And the studies, where do you fit that in? Just because, hey, bro, like it seems like your day's packed already. So where do you fit that in?
Bro. So the studies kind of play into that scheduling. I know for me, I have to study, in some way, like every day. Generally, it's about an hour and a half towards the end of my day, because in the mornings it's a bit too early. I'm out of the house at like 5:30. So studying normally at the end of my day, as soon as like work finishes, which is around like 5. Of late, I've been doing it at the office so that I don't break out of like that workflow, and I'll just do an hour and a half there and then leave in like 6:30. And then on the weekends is where I really get to do longer study sessions. But look, it's taxing, bro. It's not. It's very difficult, and I think that if anything, the studies, like just doing all of this, you have to, it's going to affect certain relationships, personal relationships, family relationships, because you're spending a lot of time working towards obviously the things you want to achieve. So in the mix of all of that, be ready for that. Be ready for, there's times where you're going to slip up where you're not paying attention to family members and you're not spending enough time, and, you have to readjust a bit, but it's manageable. But what about you, bro? What's your answer to that? How do you find balancing everything, trading wise, content creation wise now? Because those are almost two separate things. I find, yes, it's the modern day trader channel, but there's like editing and post production is a lot of time. But then obviously there's still time to improve the craft, and, work on your trading. And that's completely separate, pocket of time that you have to commit to working on that. But then your work, which is, in the accounting space, but then also trying to become a professional accountant, I think a PA. And there's other work, your logbook that you have to do outside of that. And then there's training, there's gym. And I know you're working towards the comp now. So it's, how do you manage it all? How do you balance it all? Because it sounds like a mouthful. And yeah, where do you find the time, bro? How do you manage it?
I think at the end of the day, you just need to understand that you can't do everything every day. Like, there's no way that you can do and touch every point every day. And so when I schedule my week, I try to schedule it in the sense of what's the most important to the least important. And so we have trading being one of the most important, number one. And I need to level up on trading. So that means I need research, and I need consistently listening to podcasts, listening to traders. That's where I want to be and where I'm moving towards. So you get that information in. Generally, I'll do all of my trading work in the morning, and I'll usually do it in 3 days section. So Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday is the days where I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. And that first hour and a half of my day before I actually start getting done and leave to work, that's generally where I focus on my trading growth and where I want to learn things that's going to move my mentality forward and move me forward in the market, where I know that, like, I'm consistently growing as a trader. And then that's so where I usually tend to review my trades. I review the week and I take away everything and I just look at the way the market's moving. So that's what I usually do in the morning. And then also over the weekend, I'll take an hour or two right before our meeting, and I'll sit with the markets and make sure that I understand what happened objectively, not looking at the positions that I've taken, but objectively what's going on in the market with the pair that I trade. Why did it break bullish when it was initially bearish? All of those questions that I ask myself. I know with gym, I just get it straight after work. So then it's simple. I get it out of the way. And usually with the professional accountant logbook thing, I think I try to do it at least twice a month over the weekend, where I do a paid work session of 4 hours. And at the end of the day, as you mentioned, sometimes relationships suffer, which you try to balance it out a lot. Sometimes other aspects suffer. But what you need to understand is that you're not always going to be in a space where you're always busy. You might be in a space of constant improvement, but I don't think you'll be in a space where you're constantly as busy as you are right now. And you just need to understand that sometimes your indefatigability is in question, but like, you just need to act in form of your higher self, bro. Like, you need to act in that time frame. It might be a year, it might be 6 months, it might be 3 months, whatever it's asked for in that time in your life. Just acting in accordance to your higher self, and don't be too hard on the fact that, you might not be able to spend time with this person, or you might not be able to do that specific thing that you want to do. You just need to understand what's the most important to you at that time and do that. Because I feel like when you do things that's the most important to you, you'd be the happiest that you are in life, regardless of how busy life is. And so, I don't think there's any particular way, but that's the way I go about it. I just tend to like ask myself, what's the most important thing? And I do those 3-4 most important things. And I understand it's something he's gonna have to give, but I'd rather have it be something that I'm fine with not doing, and then try to hold on to other things. So yeah, Sam, is there any last words that you want to give before we leave?
Yeah, no, I think that was just a very dope answer, and you gave a lot of perspective because, yeah, a lot of us struggle with prioritizing. So, no, I think this has been a very cool first episode. I think it's like there was a bit of nerves here and there, like over explaining here and there. But yeah, we really hope you guys enjoyed it, and really hope you are enjoying, I think, the energy that we're coming with, and like the intention for this channel. And yeah, that's all from me. That's all from me.
I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode, and I hope you're looking forward to the next 50 or 48 for the year of 2024. Don't forget to check out our previous episodes that we dropped in the introduction. I think at the point where this will be uploaded, there will be 3 videos where you can check out what we're about, who we really are, and just our journey in general up until this point. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the information that was produced. Don't forget to hit the subscribe. And thank you guys so much for watching up until this point.
Peace. So.